Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and with all the Penn reels I've done, I don't think I've done this one. And this one came in from Tony. Tony sent me a lot of about 5 Penn reels. I don't recall ever doing this one, so we're going to do it for you. This is a Penn reel. It's the Penn number 190. If you had the box, it would say Bay Star on it. And, well, it was made in the early 1950s. It's a direct drive reel. This one needs a little love and attention, and we're going to show you how to do that. Now, it's Penn's reel. Here's a no-name reel that's probably close to 100 years old, and the two very much share the same structure and design. This is not a Penn reel, but it's a direct drive reel. Spin it forward to gather the line, let the reel turn backwards to release the line, or in casting, and well, not very difficult of a design, but one that's very effective. And we're going to show you the Bay Star. We'll show you how to take this reel apart, quick service of it, and get this one back to Tony so that hopefully he can take it fishing. When you hear that, it's almost always lack of grease. There really is something to that old adage about the squeaky reel gets the oil, right? We're going to take the handle off. The handle's got one big screw in there. Use a big screwdriver. You always want to match the slot of your screw with the blade of your screwdriver. If you go too thin, well, you can see a little bit of nicking that's gone on here. You can see how it starts to butterfly on the inside because the person who was using it probably used an undersized blade, and that causes that to kind of flare out like that. So find the right screwdriver for the job and you won't injure the parts. Well, I do a lot of fishing reels. As I mentioned, this might be the first time I've done this one, and you never know what's going to show up in your shop. If you like these kinds of videos, if you like to understand how fishing reels were made, when they were made, who made them, how they were used, and the like, then I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. You'll see videos that I post frequently. Most of the time it's on how to take a reel apart and service it. Sometimes we go into the fishing industry. We talk a little bit about the trends and the like, and do some other things. But for the most part, we try to answer your questions, show you how to service the reels, and, well, how to show you the facts and the ways to do it yourself. Now, one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm taking off all of the exterior pieces. I've removed the 6 side plate screws, and one of the things I noticed when I took the screws off is that there are 2 screws that are shorter than the others. Those 2 screws that are shorter belong on the bottom. Now, most of the time these reels have all kinds of things going on inside of them. This one, not so much. We're going to take this off and show you that we have a spool and we have a backside plate. Now, this is Bakelite, I believe. It's a hard type of a plastic, and it's common on most of the Penn reels. And not only is it part of your setup, but well, it's part of your spool and your side plates as well. So this one is interesting. There are a whole subset of folks that collect Penn reels that look for the Penn reels that have etched side plates on them. And while I just used the rod and reel cleaner, you can probably see as I start to remove that there is an etched side plate here. This has the picture of the lighthouse, nice clouds in the sky, water underneath. Just a beautiful example of the artistry that went into the reel in addition to just the design and manufacture of it. We're going to take a moment here and just put some grease into the side plate spool adjuster / bearing. Just cover it like that. That's plenty. We'll take the same thing that we were just using here with that rod and reel cleaner on it. We're going to clean up the portion of the spool. Now, this is Penn's rod and reel cleaner. It takes care of things like dust and dirt and debris and fish scales and whatever else may find their way to your reel. This is a plastic spool. You need to be careful with these. If you drop them, or they will shatter. And well, this spool is ideal for allowing you to cast this reel because, well, it's got a lighter weight to it, so it will spin more freely and allow the line to travel. This reel is not very far off of a Penn 78 maybe, the Scamp series, and the defining thing with this is we do have a free spool release that's going to pull your pinion gear in and allow the spool to turn without turning the handle back like you saw on that other reel. There are no drags in this reel. So let's take it off and give you a further look at this. And while I'm doing that, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like this. I've talked a little bit about it, but you know, you'll see different things in design. And as I talk about some of these things, well, you may have questions. And if you have the questions, the best thing to do is leave them in the comment section. I do try to answer those questions. It's not an immediate answer. It's not a 24/7 helpline here, but I do try to answer the questions the next day, usually in the morning. So if you have those questions, leave them, and well, you'll see what we can learn from that. Okay, here we go. We have 2 springs. We have a direct drive. We have a yoke, a pinion gear, and a bridge. What's missing? There's no anti-reverse. Now there is an anti-reverse case here, so this potentially could have been used for the same design as the Beachmaster series or the Baymaster series. It has a little cutout here and it has a little stud on it that you would typically wrap a flat spring for the anti-reverse dog, but the dog and the spring are not in this. This is direct drive, front and back. So it kind of mimics what we were seeing there. So what that means is when you go to do your fishing, to cast, this line will pull that pinion gear in and away from the spool. That will allow you to have the spool spin and the line cast without the handle jumping backwards at you or knuckle busting. However, once you flip this switch over, you're in control both ways. Well, here's a difference that you see versus the other cases. This does not have a metal gear sleeve spacer. This is part of the case. It's a plastic case that is roughly, the inner diameter is roughly the same as the external diameter on the gear. We're going to polish that up. I'm going to use a steel wool. This is 4 zeros, 0, 0, 0, 0. And well, what that does is it just polishes it up without being abrasive to it. When I have the gear off, the next thing I want to do is pull through with a soft brush. That will enable me to get out any debris. And you can see there's stuff coming out of here. Anything that's in those tracks in the teeth will all create road bumps. So you want to make sure before you apply any new greases that you take care to clean those old teeth out, particularly if the reel's been sitting for a while. And then we can reload on the grease. I don't know if I can slip a cotton swab through here. We're going to give it a try. Yeah, we can do that. Well, the inside of this one was clean. You want to do the same thing here. Now, this one doesn't look like it needs to be polished, but it's a good example for you in terms of what you would like to do. Bring it in, clean it up, inspect it, feel for the burrs. And you can use that same steel wool here on the bridge just to clean it up. Most of this is just plating that has kind of worn away over time, but doesn't hurt to clean it up, making sure that it is okay. We'll do the same thing here. I want to clean up the yoke so that your pinion gear spins freely. And most of this is just dirt. This is not anything that's really damaged at all. And interestingly enough, our yoke reads 155. It's 12-155. The 155 is the Penn Beachmaster. So it shares parts with that reel. Probably could use that side plate on it, even though this reel does not have the anti-reverse dog in it. All right, let's just put it back together then. This is a relatively simple endeavor. We're going to take our brush with the grease on it, place it on the shaft, put the main gear back on that. We want to come over to this side. A couple of things here. Drop of oil underneath the eccentric and work that back and forth so that the oil gets in on that cylinder. Take that grease brush again and a little bit of grease into this side's bearing. And I'm using Penn's grease for this, Penn Precision Reel Grease. I recommend that you only use fishing reel greases on your projects. And well, let's take the two springs that go in here. The springs set in the cavity. On our yoke, we want to make sure that we get the grease where the shoulder is so that it can allow the pinion gear to turn relatively friction free. And one more thing here that we didn't do. We didn't pull through on this, so we'll do the same thing here. And inspect the teeth while you're at it. So much of fishing reel service and repair is simply getting the parts off the reel, inspecting them, cleaning them, replacing any that are damaged, and well, moving on, taking it fishing again. There's two sides on that pinion gear. One of them has a slot. That slot faces you so that it can accept the shaft of the spool. Once you have that face, push that down so that you can hook the jack over the eccentric. And then this one's relatively easy because there aren't any anti-reverse dogs to load. So just bring that in, bring that over. You want to square up the pinion gear through the hole. Align your holes. And then there's two screws that are fully threaded for the bridge, and there's two that are partially threaded. So start with a fully threaded one below. That's usually the easiest one you can grab. And if it's not setting, just flip your bridge a little bit. Chances are you don't have it quite lined up. But don't tighten it down all the way once you get it started. That's because there needs to be a little bit of room for play there, if you will, to line up the other holes. So let's move up to the other side. That's a partially threaded one. It only has the thread on the last end of it there. Those two go up top. They go through the springs, and the lack of thread on that center shaft there allows the springs to move up and down without catching on those threads. The last of the fully threaded screws goes on the bottom. And once you have 4 of them seated, then use an X pattern there, and then come up to the other side. Drop over to this side. Drop down to the first one you put in. Tighten them all up, make sure that they're working, and then you can turn this, make sure that that's turning as well. You want to make sure that you retract and you load. I'm going to grab a grease brush because you can't get that before you load this up. Let's bring this over and on. The best way to do this is to bring it into free spool mode and then line up your holes. And then, as we mentioned when we were taking this off, there's 4 screws that are long and 2 screws that are short. The long screws go through the cross posts. The short screws go through the reel seat below. If you use the long screw here, the problem that you're going to encounter is that the screw is going to come through the back end of that plate and potentially could catch the line when you're in cast mode. You find your 2 short ones, and when you put these in, they're going to go into the reel seat and hold it, but it won't come through the back end here. We've got 3 more screws to put in. And we'll put the handle on and give it a test, see how we did. These are great reels. These were economy reels. You can see there's not a lot of feature and function in this. So, well, you didn't have to pay for things that you weren't going to use. This is, again, a Bay Star reel. That was by name. Bays around us, well, typically they're very shallow bodies of water. Maybe they get to 12 or 15 feet, unless there's a boating channel or something that you're in. For the most part, they are shallow waterways. You don't need a lot of line to get down to the base. And, well, even the fish, well, sometimes you get some nice fish coming into the bays, but you don't need the capacity that you would have for the larger pelagic fish out in the ocean. All right, cleaned up the handle. That big screw goes back on with a wide set. There's a little oiling port here. A lot of times that oil port gets stuck. Oh, this one's, how do you like that after all that time? Didn't get stuck. Very nice. All right, wide blade again. Tighten this up. We're in free spool. Let's see how it spins. Well, you can't necessarily see how that's spinning, but it's spinning nicely. And again, when you're casting, of course, it's coming in this direction. This is your spool adjuster. You can back that off to let it spin more freely. Tighten it up. The best way to adjust a reel like this is you just need a little bit of a knock. I hope you can hear that. That's the right set. Too much knock is not going to be the right set, and too little knock and the reel's going to run tight. All right, so what's left here? This is free spool. As I mentioned, when you go to cast, it's not turning. When you go to put it into retrieve mode, you can turn, and you can fight the fish by holding onto the handle and backpedaling the reel. That's the way that you control the drag on that. Some of you may have noticed when we went into that gear, there was a slight delay. And that's because that slot in the pinion gear did not match the counterpart on the spool. One quick way to do that, and it usually happens when you've got weight on the line, just hold your spool and it's a quarter turn usually. Now you heard it lock in and it turns much more freely. Well, we took all the noise out of that one. We tuned it up. We show you how it was made and, well, how to keep this reel fishing for a long time to come. If that was my reel, it's Tony's reel. If that was my reel, I would certainly put line on it. Take it out there and experience fishing the way it was in the 1950s and 60s when this reel was dominant. That's what I'm going to do here. I did a video on this one. It'll be posted soon. And I'm going to put heavier line on this because it's a bigger ocean reel. And we're going to do just that. In the fall run, we're going to take this out and we're going to see how this performs. Always kind of fun to get back into that the way it used to be, if you will. That's it. I hope you've enjoyed it. That's the service of the Penn 190 Bay Star. Before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. I want to thank you, the channel viewers. I want to encourage you again to subscribe. And, well, I want to wish everybody a great day. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.